Hey, what's going on, guys? Kalamazi here, and this evening's video is going to be looking at all of the big Warlock changes that were finally pushed today in the Alpha build. Now, the build came out pretty late this evening, somewhere around like 8 p.m. my time, and we had seen some of the abilities. I don't think we had seen all the ones they introduced and things, but we weren't really sure where they'd be in the class tree, how they'd be reworked, where they'd be aligned, and the class tree itself. The final capstone nodes need some help. I think the class tree overall took a step back, but thankfully Destro, Demo, and certainly Affliction are in a better spot than they were before. And with that also came a handful of new abilities that were previously NYI, which is not yet implemented. Guillotine, the hold this for me Demonology capstone with your Felguard throwing his axe, is implemented. It looks really cool. The Dark Lair Eye beam ability is half implemented, and there are some other ones along the way that are pretty cool. So we're going to be looking at those visual effects today, talking about them a little bit, and then over the coming week we'll be looking at I'll probably put a video out on each spec, maybe have another feedback update looking at some more interesting builds and all that. But today I wanted to highlight the tree changes, why it makes them better or worse in certain spots, and then, you know, just go from there and look at some cool abilities. So with that being said, let's just jump right into it, starting off with I guess the general class tree. So getting into the class tree, number one off the bat here, they have indeed moved Spell Lock to be the one passive ability that we have in the class tree. Now previously, Curse of Enfeeblement was here, which gave Curse of Tongues and Curse of Exhaustion. Curse of Weakness is nowhere to be found in this expansion so far, by the way. It's Curse of Tongues and Exhaustion here. So you have Spell Lock as your default node, which looks pretty cool. Hey, we get a baseline kick essentially, this being the one node we don't have the talent into. But at the same time, with them putting it in this slot and not requiring a talent point, it sort of makes me feel that there's not really any hope for it becoming a dual node between a pet kick and an actual player bound kick. We'll see where it goes, but I think overall it's probably better if you put aside like the possibility of it being a dual node with both the pet and player kick, and the choice node, I guess is a better way to put it. I think this being like a free node here is probably better than Curse of Enfeeblement, because Tongues and Exhaustion are relevant in certain settings, but this is, for the most part, you can probably find some applications for a Spell Lock in most content. So we have Burning Rush here, Fell Armor, Demon Skin, Fell Domination. I'm going to highlight the things that changed in this tree, but the majority of my frustrations lie at the bottom, and we'll get to that at a certain point. But as you can see, our capstones have changed, and they're pretty bad. So this is here. Curse of Enfeeblement is here. This now connects to Demonic Embrace. They did put Demonic Circle here and moved Accrued Vitality right here, which is very cool. So right from Demon Armor, Demon Armor, Demon Skin, or Fell Armor right into Demonic Circle. Very, very cool. And we have the new Abyss Walker ability. Using Demonic Circle reduces your damage taken by 4% for 10 seconds. It's a cool ability. I wish it was Demonic Momentum, but that comes from Soul Burn down here, which is, you know, just something in itself. So we have Demonic Circle much earlier on, which is very cool. Cool to see. Let's actually build a tree here. Actually want to think about this. So we have, let's say we're going into Burning Rush. Let me remove all these points here. So we have Burning Rush, Spell Lock, obviously, Fell Domination. We put 2 points in Fell Armor, 2 points in Demon Skin, a point in Circle most likely. So Howl of Terror, Coil in the same spot here as well. And we have 12 points to spend in this tree still. So I want to grab Demonic Inspiration. Now the weird thing here, if you want Demonic Embrace, you have to go into Curses, which is okay. It's probably fine. It's an okay node below what I would assume. It's fine. With Decon Skilling being on, Decon's gone, spoilers ahead. It's not as big of a deal, but 10% stamina is still pretty solid. So we'll grab this. I'm going to forego Abyss Walker for now. I'm not a huge fan of it. I think it's a bit underwhelming, but it's okay. Wrath of Minion being a passive damage increase to your pets. Demonic Fortitude giving you and your pet more health. And we need 8 more points spent. So this makes it pretty easy to go down here and grab Sweet Souls, obviously. Demonic Gateway is probably something I grab here too. You have Dark Pact, you have Strength of Will for a larger Unending Resolve cooldown, and you have these hybrid nodes here being Accrued Vitality with 2 points. You have Lifeblood being 2 points. You have your Dark Fury, Shadow Flame things off here, you know, this corner. So I've been grabbing Frequent Donor, and at this point you can go into a handful of other abilities here. You have 3 points to spend. So this is another new one here called Gorfine's Resolve. A passive, 2 points. Targets resurrected with Soulstone resurrect with 20% additional health and 15% additional mana. It becomes 40 and 30. So it's an okay ability. I can see it being useful in certain scenarios where you're going to be battle resing, which is possible in most content, but it depends what you need. These points can be used for like Shadow Fury instead here. If you want a banish in certain content, you can put it here. If you want to have Desperate Power for more Drain Life healing, you can do that too. Or you can also just take these points and where to put the other point? Shadow Fury, and just place them in these nodes here to unlock further nodes. So let's say, for example, I want Soul Link, which I do. you have the option of putting 2 points in Accrued Vitality or 2 points in Lifeblood. Now, I mean, these nodes are a bit awkward with choice because they're both 2-point nodes and they lead into Soul Link. And honestly, I don't really want either of these a whole lot, but I guess I just take Lifeblood and go from there. Lifeblood unlocks these 2 nodes here, and we already have this coming out of Frequent Donor, so there's that. And you have 1 point here, you can put it wherever you want. Let's toss it in Shadow Fury for now. That's fine. You can also put points in Imp Step too, which is fine, but just based on your preferences, right? So we have Soul Link here. Now they did split Soul Link once again. Remember, you have 1 point in Soul Link and they put Soul Armor below it. It's very strong. Obviously, you're probably going to grab it at some point, but this is where the problems with the tree lie to me. So you have Soul Link, but the previous tree had Pact of the Eridar, Pact of Anilion, and Pact of the Imp Mother. All 3 damage-based traits in this row or in this general vicinity, right? They are all gone. The packs are gone. So all those damage traits are no longer existent. They're just gone completely. They moved Grimoire of Synergy from, I think, this spot to here, which is fine. It was awkward having it on a throughput row, being a DPS increase, but you're going to want synergy, so you grab this. Soul Conduit moved a bit down more as well. That's fine. So you can grab these 2. But here's the problem. Also, they merged Soulkeeper and Inquisitor's Gates, right? So we'll look at these in a minute here. They're both pretty cool. Just underwhelming right now. Visually, they're all right, but overall, we'll take this, sure. So the problem is that, like, our capstones are incredibly boring. You have Soulburn, which is growing on me a little bit. I think it can be a capstone trait, but it doesn't do a whole lot. The shard cost is a bit frustrating. And the thing is, like, 9 times out of 10, like, if I need to burn a Hellstone and get more health, I can do it. If I need to drop a Gateway instantly, it's nice to have that ability, but I feel like it needs to do more. I wouldn't mind being able to, like, Soulburn a spell, like Soulburn Chaos Bolt, Soulburn Dreadstalker, Soulburn Malefic Rapture, or something that empowers an ability from each spec and giving you, like, a universal trait here that you can use for, you know, utility in Hellstone Health Funnel, or, like, some kind of damage amp, right, on a cooldown. There's no cooldown here, but it does cost a shard. It's an okay capstone. I'm not a huge fan of it, but it's fine. But the problem is, like, what do we have over here? We have 2 points in Demonic Resilience. Reduces the chance you'll be critically struck by 2%. All damage your primary demon takes is reduced by 8%. So you can put 2 points in here, but it comes out of Teaching to the Black Harvest, which wasn't buffed at all either. So this is like a very underpowered ability, leading into another very boring ability in Demonic Resilience, right? So I'm just going to forego these. They're just not good in the first place. So we have, like, a really subpar talent here into a very subpar penultimate capstone. And then if you shift your attention to this part of the tree, we have Fell Synergy, which is fine. It's okay. Soul Leech heals you and your pet, which is fine. You probably take it. But then you have this here. It's Resolute Barrier. It's the conduit from retail now. Attacks received reduce the cooldown of Ending Resolve, which is fine, but, like, we're just adding more and more and more and more and more and more defensive traits. I mean, you've got this, 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 you've got this. You've got so many defensives in this tree. You're a walking god, but all the fun is, like, a lot of the fun is gone. The packs are gone. Eridar, Anilion, Imp Mother's gone. They merged Soulkeeper and Inquisitor's Gaze, which are by themselves. And our capstone is Claw of Endereth. Like, what is this? This ability is irrelevant for Demonology, irrelevant for Destruction. It's good for if you're playing a build of Aff with Inevitable Demise. There is no shot this is a capstone talent. This is like a talent you put up here that nobody takes. It's bad. You take this with one build in one spec in niche scenarios. Like, if you're playing ID, you take it probably, but, like, that's one part of one spec. There's no shot this is a capstone talent. Like, this is so incredibly boring. It's bland. Like, it doesn't increase damage. It makes it channel faster. So if you're playing ID, maybe you can squeeze in another dot refresh over the course of 4 drain lives. But it's so incredibly disappointing as a capstone trait. And the fact that we lost, like, these both being individual nodes, all the packs, and just these cool, like, damage amps. The class tree, I think the problems lie in here. This needs to be buffed. This is just not good. It's just subpar, and it just doubles down on DRs and things, which you already have a bunch of. This is okay-ish, but, like, not very impressive. This is, like, just not really what I want. This is putrid, and this needs to be buffed. And, like, this is fine, but, like, you get to this point in the tree and you have, like, 2 to 3 or 4 different points. Where do you put them? Like, and just, like, Amplify Curse and Imp Step. Like, if they want to design the class tree around, like, just being mostly throughput utility, that's fine. And just tune the actual specs around damage, that's okay. But it feels like we've taken a big step back, a very large step back when it comes to these capstone talents. Like, in probably Soulburn, and certainly Claw of Endereth, and these talents leading into it. But I will say besides that, the Demonic Circle changes is nice. Some other things move spots here. This is okay too if you want it. Overall, this part of the class tree is good. Mostly. This is a little awkward, but this is pretty good, right? The problems lie here, here, and basically just these subsections of these nodes here. Hopefully this is addressed later on, and please give us something besides Claw of Endereth. Hopefully this is placeholder, because it is just so gross. But that is the only real negative part of this video, because everything else, the clash or the spec trees, look much cooler. Let's talk about those. Okay, so getting into the Demonology tree, it's changed a bit, but it's in a better form, which is very cool. The spec rate felt pretty well rounded and polished, and this improved tree makes it even better. So we'll look over like some of the nodes that moved around a little bit briefly, but I mean, we can also look at this too. So we know Reign of Tyranny right here has indeed replaced Demonic Consumption. So from what I know, both this ability here, Inquisitor's Gaze and Summon Soulkeeper, they do not affect Demonic Consumption. They do not affect Reign of Tyranny. So what affects Reign of Tyranny? Your Felguard. Let me spec into this quickly here. Your Felguard is 2 points. Basically, it counts as one of your bigger pets, right? So they call them greater demons, I believe, right? Greater demons, yeah. So I don't know why I can't do this. Oh, here, sure, there we go. Merry Christmas. So your Felguard is a greater demon. From what I can see, your Dreadstalkers are also greater demons. Everything but imps are greater demons. Nether Portal, also. They all appear to be greater demons. Now, there does appear to be a bit of RNG with it. At times, you summon more demons, like Eyes of Gul'dan or whatever, for example, which do count as greater demons. So there's still a bit of RNG with both Portal and the Reign of Tyranny, but you can see on my Tyrant tracker here, if I pull out another Felguard, it should show a 2 here on it, which indicates some kind of empowerment, unless it's bugged. Sure, there's your larger pet. So my baseline pet is 2. If I pop my dogs here, it's going to go to 6. It should go to 8 because there's 3 dogs here. But it's, oh, it did actually, perfect. There we go. So dogs are 2 each. That works. That's cool. Pop my Grimoire. It goes to 10. And we pop the Tyrant here, and it looks at them all, and we have that buff of 10. So Reign of Tyranny is there. It looks to be working fine. I have not run numbers with it yet. We'll run that more later on this week. But Reign of Tyranny is there. Sort of the fixed version of Baleful Invocation. Cool to see. I'm pretty happy with it overall. So Reign of Tyranny has changed, obviously we know that. Guillotine, the Hold This For Me talent, has also changed, or I guess the name of it has changed, but the ability is essentially the same. It is very, very cool. So you throw your axe at the target, and honestly, let's just take a look. This is super sick. So he's like literally, he uppercuts mobs. Like watch the actual Felguard here. I'm gonna throw my axe at this mob, or these mobs here. It's like a mass amount of green pulsing AoE. Watch the axe fly in, and then watch him go in and just uppercut these mobs. Check this out. This is really cool. So throw the axe. He throws it. It lands. Pulsing green AoE attack. He just punches things. He's uppercutting these mobs. He's just going to town, dude. The visual, this green flashing is not this Demon Hunter. It's me. It's so cool. It's a 40-second cooldown, 45. It's super, super cool. And the cool thing is that you can also demonic strength during Guillotine, which might be a bit of a bug, but the visual effect looks really, really cool. And in Mythic Plus, yeah, there's a bit of a targeting, you know, like Shadow Fury kind of like, I guess, placement, reticle, whatever you want to call it. But this ability could be pretty strong if you end up stacking the effects over here, like Fell Might and Fell Sunder and things for that damage amp, and just throwing your axe. And the big question with this ability, though, is if I have like a Sulfurus or some kind of like Grimoire, some kind of like Glyph of Felguard weapon in his hand, does he throw the actual weapon and not just his axe that he has here? But either way, it's super cool. Visually, it looks insane, and I'm pumped to play this in Mythic Plus. So outside of that, Demonology hasn't been changed a whole lot. The other large things that changed were they moved both the Expendables and Soul and Power like up a node, essentially. They swapped them as well. So they moved Soul and Power over here. It comes out of Portal, and this is the one that gives you a big Shadow Bolt, or big Demon Bolt, right? Yeah, which is pretty interesting. This over here, I think, fits this tree much better because you have your Bale Spiders, your Shadow Spite, your other Demon Bolt based amps over here, which makes Soul and Power, well, feel better. And by feel better, I mean it just fits the tree better, right? It's not over here. You're not having to trek all the way across the end Capstone talents to get this ability that empowers your Demon Bolts. It's just there. It's all on one side of the tree. The bolt builds here, more pet kind of build is here, and the expendables is here, which used to be over here a row lower. So it's saved you a bit of room when it comes to like capstone or semi-capstone abilities, and it fits this side of the tree a lot more. So besides that, nothing else really changed. They didn't end up moving Shadow's Bite or Implosion or Born of Blood yet. Hopefully at some point that ends up changing. This is still like pretty undertuned currently. It might even just be a placeholder value. They did decrease the duration of some of Nether Portal's cast time by like half. I think it's 1.5 now roughly. So pretty cool. Not a whole lot changed with Demo besides that, but honestly, like Demo's been in a pretty good spot. It feels pretty well rounded. I just want Hand of Doom. I want Implosion in a better spot, and I want like Pit Lord and Nerd's Volition to be buffed because they are both not very strong now. Oh, yeah, and Nether Portal Demons, like I said, they can still make some Giga Tyrants with Reign of Tyranny. Demo's still in a pretty good spot. So jumping into Destruction, Destro's tree felt pretty well rounded to me as well in the last build, but the changes they've made here, I think, round it out even more. There are some awkward nodes, like they put Flashpoint here and moved it from being over here. Like, well, I don't mind this being a bit more central. It does seem a little odd because it's much more applicable in like settings where ads are spawning and dying frequently. You can get, you know, higher Flashpoint uptime, but we'll get to that in a little bit. So there's a lot of nerfs to Destro today on Alpha. TLDR, don't worry about this. Tuning doesn't matter at this point. You want the class to feel good, talent-wise, toolkit-wise, build-wise. Things are going to get buffed and nerfed a million times on Alpha. Don't worry about this. We've ran some dungeons and Destro was wild. They gutted Ellie Shaman today too. It doesn't matter. I don't care in the slightest about these nerfs. What I care about are the class trees and tuning. So first thing off the bat here, Chaos Bolt's still the same. They swapped this node, didn't mention it. So Havoc has now become the third option here, which is very cool because if you wanted either Entropy or Internal Combustion, which for whatever reason, you'd have to go into Havoc. But this is a great change in a patchwork setting where you don't need any Havoc, you know, applications or relevancy. You can just go Chaos Bolt, reverse Entropy, and start working your way down the tree over here. It's very, very cool. I'm glad they don't have this below Havoc because it sort of like pigeonholed you into taking Havoc in spots you didn't really need it. Everything else is the same. Mayhem not working yet. We still have Cry Havoc and Pandemonium. Rolling Havoc here being nerfed to 5 stacks, but, you know, 2% per at 2 spots in this tree, leading into Flashpoint, which once again moved the node here. This part of the tree was redesigned a little bit. I'm not a huge fan of Flashpoint being in the center here. I wish this was here. Improved, where's it at? Scalding Flames. I feel like if they swap these, it'd be much better because this side of the tree still feels like it's more AoE-esque Mythic Plus base, and you have Kata and Inferno over here. You have Reign of Chaos or Reign of Fire, right? And Flashpoint has that, you know, if I'm in a setting where mobs are spawning quickly, back to back, I can get my Immolates up, get that haste buff. That's where I want to be. It's central, and you can use it with both builds, but like, it seems like this is a bit more universally applicable. I wouldn't mind having this here and this here. So there's Flashpoint here. Obviously, Scalding Flames is new. 13 and 25% increase in Immolate damage, which does work with Internal Combustion. We'll see where that goes. I hope it doesn't work well, but so this comes out of Fire and Brimstone here. Now, Fire and Brimstone was buffed essentially by 100% today. It went from being 7 and 15 to, well, roughly, to 13 and 25. So they buffed the damage in FMB a lot, and that might be due to the fact that it's undertuned, but it might also be due to the fact that Decimating Bolt is now gone. So that weird like interaction of Incinerates being crazy buffed and having the nerf the value of it and everything is just gone. They can buff Fire and Brimstone. Burn to Ashes is still here in the same state that it was before, but there is some focus on FMB, so that's a good thing. Hopefully it gets buffed more because it's still terrible. But either way, there's that. So moving on from there, the other big changes, besides, you know, Flashpoint and these things being here, they've moved Backlash under improved Immolate, and they've sort of redone this part of the tree. They've made Backlash a 1-point rank and not 2, and made it a baseline 3% crit chance increase, and put Flashpoint there, obviously. They've moved Channel Demon Fire from out here to right here, and I love this change. This is really, really cool. Because previously, we had Soulfire here, and Soulfire is pretty much a single target or Havoc setting based ability, right? It applies Immolate, gives you a shard, does damage, but you don't really want that in like every kind of central build. But Channel Demon Fire, it's always felt like that ability that's good in single target and not bad in stacked AoE. It's just good all around. Putting this Channel Demon Fire, putting this ability here and then leading into Raging Demon Fire just feels so good. Like, I would assume most builds of Destro probably have Channel Demon Fire because it's central, it's easy to get, and does good damage. You have the Roaring Blade synergy. It's just solid. I love this change. It's really, really cool. I love them putting it more central. So they bumped both, once again, Soulfire and Shadowburn out to the left side of the tree a bit more. It's fine. They're both good. A bit more niche and narrow, which, you know, fits that more left side single target kind of build thing, right? So we have conflict rate leading into backdraft here. The new trait here also, explosive potential, reduces the cooldown of conflict rate by 2 seconds. It's here, it's fine. Sure, why not? Ruin is here also. So they moved Ruin into this like 4th node over here, which is sort of odd, but it works out fine. So you have Roaring Blaze or conflict rate leading into Soulfire, Decimation, and then Ruin. And then you have Infernal and everything else being the same here. And the last big change, which is pretty unfortunate, we know about it already, is that Dimensional Rifts do indeed share a node with Chaos Incarnate. Now, I could either be way overvaluing Chaos Incarnate, or others could be way undervaluing it. But I think this ability in the right build, stacking Mastery, could be really, really strong. And the unfortunate thing here is that with Dimensional Rift sharing a spot with this, I think in the vast majority of settings, you just take Chaos Incarnate, unless it's undertuned or this is overtuned, and don't really play Dimensional Rift. I'd love to see these moved maybe somewhere else in the tree that you can just play them, right? Because they're cool, they're iconic. It's your Deshra Legion ability. But in this spot, I don't think, barring them being overtuned or just tuning being different, I think they're probably not going to be played a whole lot. But besides that, though, a couple little hiccups here and there like this, and, you know, a Flashpoint being here, the Deshra tree, putting this here, moving us out a bit, and moving this down, I think feels even better. They are very, very close to having just an awesome tree for Destro. Alrighty, everyone's favorite part of the video, because they knew how bad Affliction was, we have the Affliction tree. And I want to say this side of the tree was very good. It was just this side that was a bit of a mess, and thankfully that is fixed. So I'm going to build a bit of a single target build here. We can talk about it as we go. The gist of it is that the Button Blow, Malefic Wrath, Death Bolt playstyle is basically all gone. You have a rotation that's like similar to the one you have on retail, but also a bit different. And your dots actually do damage. My dots were doing about 55 to 65% of my damage in single target, running some, you know, brief dummy test here and there. It feels pretty good. I'm not saying AF is back, because the tuning is obviously, you know, not done yet and all that stuff, but it looks like it could be in a pretty good spot. So starting off here in a more single target build, which is the issue that's at hand here, or was at least. Rapture into UA, Xavian Teachings, Wrath and Agony being here. Nothing's really changed up here a whole lot, right? They moved Shadow's Embrace out here from in here somewhere. Harvester of Souls is a bit higher, I think, and they moved ID from over here to more of a central location. Now, the cool thing about this tree is that Soul Swap's in the middle. This ability is terrible, but they built this cool, convenient little way around it because they know it's bad, so nobody's going to take it, right? Until this is changed or buffed or something, it's going to be bad. So you can just work your way around this in basically every build and choose what you want. So they changed the icon for Soul Flame. It still does the same thing. It's still bugged, not working. They moved Sacrifice out here to this node, I believe. If you want a path for like Soul Rot, you can just go through here for 1 point into Soul Rot versus 2 through Sacrilash, but it depends on what setting you're in. So back to the more single target side of the tree. ID is here. They moved Pandemic Invocation from here to down here. Not a big fan of this ability either way, but it's here. It is what it is. Haunt row has been moved from here to here. Soul Rot row has been moved to here from here, which in the feedback video we talked about this, and thankfully Dark Glare is a more central based cooldown, which is very, very cool to see. You have the actual Grim Reach ability here, AoEing Eye Beam, which is incredibly bugged and very, very cool. We'll look at it in a minute here. Also looks to be pretty powerful too, which is a surprise. You have this here, very, very cool. Dark Lair being more central-ish, Soul Rot being more off to the side, which favors like the dot build here. They did nerf DSS by half, which is sort of odd. It's only 1 rank now, but they also added Soul Eater's Gluttony to it, which might be sort of why reduce cooldown on Soul Rot. It looks to be about 40-ish seconds with a permanent UA up, so it actually ticks, you know, down faster than your PS does if you're playing single target. But the question is, are you even playing as a single target? Because in the final row here, there's a lot of options for each build and not a lot of points. So Wrath is still here, Dark Lair Empowerment, Soul Rots, Haunt into Haunted Soul is still here. So they placed Calamitous Crescendo here. They've removed the 2-piece that whenever you Rapture, your dots are extended and they do more damage, or Rapture does more damage, which I think should be brought back in some form. I get that Rapture is gone, or Rapture's been overhauled to do dot damage with this being Malefic Affliction, but the two-piece still works, and the two-piece is infinitely better than Calamitous Crescendo. The two-piece should be here, and this should not be. Two-piece works so well with like Malefic Affliction, other playstyles, dot extensions. The two-piece should be here and get this out of here. But either way, still much better than the previous form we had. So Creeping Death. I think this ability is very good. You're probably going to want it in almost every setting, whether it's Mythic Plus or rating, single target, patchwork, AoE. Just dots occurring 15% faster is very good. They don't expire 15% faster, but they tick faster. That makes sense. Basically, more ticks, same duration. So grab Creeping Death. You can go right into Malefic Affliction, which is very cool. And this ability is very interesting. So this is your single target side of the tree. This is what changes your rotation in these settings. Malefic Rapture causes your active unstable affliction to deal 5% additional damage up to 15, up to 30 with 2 points for the rest of its duration. So the wording on this is very odd. Now, we'll look at things in a minute here rotationally to see where this goes. It could be bugged right now, or it could be working as intended. I'm not sure. This leads into either Death Bloom, which is if Corruption does damage. If Corruption damages a target affected by your unstable affliction, it has a 10% chance per stack of Malefic Affliction to deal shadow damage to nearby enemies, or you have this ability here, which is very cool, Dread Touch. So this doesn't decap at 3 stacks permanently, but if you Rapture at 3 stacks, Dread Touch increases all your dots damage by 20% for 6 seconds. Very, very cool ability. And it's really smart if you think about it, because they probably built it in there for Rapture windows. When you're Rapturing and dumping more shards, you can't get any value out of this. Well, now you can. You might have to space them out a little bit, and depending how this ability lands, it might just be a buff you try and maintain for a good while, but dots are indeed doing damage again. So this is the single target build that I played earlier. I was in Dark Lair. I think I had a point in Crescendo. I think I had I think I had points here, possibly. I'm not sure exactly. I can look at it later on. Not a big deal, but we can look at both abilities here. So let's take points out of here. It's actually fine. Let's do this. So the big thing is the wording on this ability. So we're not sure if Malefic Affliction is working properly or not. The big thing, let's say that I'm attacking this mob here. I have dots on it and everything. I put it in my UA, right? I Rapture. It applies a buff called Malefic Affliction. I can Rapture again. Some agonies rolling for shard gen. Rapture again. We're at 2 stacks. I can Rapture a 3rd time here, and it gives a 3rd stack. But interestingly enough, watch me refresh my UA here. The buff stays. The buff does not go away. It appears to currently be a permanent buff. I was concerned that this might be an actual maintenance buff on UAs, which if it is, I mean, UA is 21 seconds anyways and a bit longer if need be, but either way, this looks to be a maintenance buff, or a permanent buff, not a maintenance buff. I'll refresh this UA. If UA falls, the buff falls. But the cool thing, 3 stacks, thanks once again to Dread Touch here. Rapture, there's Dread Touch, increasing damage of dots by 20% on every target. So currently, what it looks like the playstyle is designed to be around, or designed to be, is something like this, where my keybinds aren't, right? But you have your dots up, you have everything going, you get 3 stacks of Malefic Affliction, and you just try and like Rapture in when you can and maintain dots and get Dread Touch value in, because this increases all your dot damage by 20% when you have Dread Touch up, right? Which is very, very cool. Now, the weird thing here that makes you wonder if this is actually working is that if I have my UA here, for example, if I move my UA to this target, I don't know why there's a dot on this other way, but if I move my UA to this target, the buff stays here. If I move my UA to this target with no buff on it, move my UA, there we go. The buff stays here. The buff stays at 3. If I Rapture, applies a buff. Still 1 stack, but still 3 stacks. So this makes me believe it could be bugged. The wording is very cryptic and doesn't explain the ability very well. It could be bugged to be like this, but it also could be intentional. It could be some playstyle where you have to like move UAs and stack Malefic Affliction on council-based fights if need be for that massive damage amp. It's hard to say. If this is actually like an ability that gets clear whenever you put a new UA up, it's a bit more tedious and a bit more annoying. We'll see where that goes. But I love this playstyle. Dots do damage again, right? You have Calamitous Crescendo with procs if need be. You have Creeping Death. You have this buffing dots, this buffing dots. If you take Haunt and go down a Haunted Soul for whatever reason, you have actual 20% damage amp to all your dots. It's really, really cool. In the actual like dummy test that I ran earlier, I did like my single target damage, 55 to 65% of my damage was literally dots. It's very, very cool. And I did want to show the actual dark layer AoE effect. People are going to want to see it. So the visual is currently bugged. It doesn't like actually AoE ID and everything, but I can tell you Grim Reach, it probably will do a lot of damage. This could be a very big cooldown on AoE. And the crazy thing is that it's not just, I don't have an AoE talent here, it's fine. It's not just the mobs that have dots in them currently. We dot these 4 up. It's every mob in like a 100-yard radius. Dark glare. Watch the damage. Watch this. It literally killed the critters outside. Dark glare is such an alpha. He AoEs everything. He's hitting everything. He's just bugged right now. We can go outside. Where are the dead animals? The dead spider is here. It killed this spider. It might have killed this raptor. Who knows? Dead spider, dead spider, dead spider. It kills everything in like a 100-yard radius, or I guess it AoEs them. He's still cranking it here. Look, he's going to town, man. It's a really cool ability. Okay, I'm sure it'll be a really cool ability whenever it's fixed, right? But the current visual is still like one eye beam. It should hit every target with dots on it, and not every target within a 100-yard radius. But it's really, really cool. And the math we ran earlier looks to be really strong. It could be really good in the right settings, like Mythic Plus or heavy sustained AoE. Oh, and the last 2 abilities here, let me hide this chat. The last 2 abilities here being Summon Jailer, or Summon Soulkeeper and Inquisitor's Gaze. They're fine. We expected Inquisitor's Gaze to sort of be like a Arcane Familiar passive pet. It's fine. The damage will be buffed from this thing 100%. There is no chance the damage it does is this bad. I will say that, like, I wish the actual pet was larger. Here it is. It's right there. It's really cool. It follows you around. It'll launch, like, little eye beams. If I can get in combat here, that little fireball is him. The damage is incredibly undertuned. It'll be buffed at some point, I would hope. I wish it was larger, though. I wish it was, like, maybe, like, as big as my imp, right? Where it would like sit here over my shoulder. It'd be pretty cool. Hopefully they rework it and make it a bit larger. Because at this point, it's cool, but a little underwhelming maybe for a capstone talent. The other ability though, being Summon Soulkeeper, right? Change from Summon Jailer. This ability is very unique because it requires souls to be gathered, which the actual icon is here. I have 10 souls right now, and it will AoE damage for X amount of time based on how many souls I have out. Now, I also think this actual ability, like this demon that it summons or whatever, could be a little larger and it'd probably be a little cooler, but here is the actual ability. So let's hide these nameplates. Watch him come out of the floor. That's the wrong button. Watch him come out of the floor. He spins and AoEs. Here he comes. He spins and he AoEs. If he was like twice as large as this, it'd be infinitely cooler. But I think it looks pretty cool. It'll be relevant in Mythic Plus. It's literally a Soulkeeper. It'll be relevant in Mythic Plus, and maybe relevant in single target depending where it goes. It feels like this ability feels like a capstone enough kind of trait, but when it comes to like Soulburn and Claw of Endereth, they just can't compare. The damage in this is the damage on these is also incredibly undertuned. It'll be changed at some point and buffed. But yeah, overall, like the spec trees I think look good. It's just the actual clash tree that took a step back, I think, overall. So yeah, thanks for watching, guys. That about wraps it up. Hopefully the video wasn't too long. It probably was with my random ramblings, but I really wanted to cover every spec tonight, talent tree wise, and also to talk about why the general clash tree probably just took a step back. Once again, this is early alpha still. We're not even in beta yet, and even though like Claw of Endereth and Soulburn are our capstone traits in our clash tree, I'm sort of hoping that they shift back to maybe something else. I didn't even hate the packs. Like Pact of the Eridar, Pact of Vanillion, Pact of the Imp Mother were pretty cool. I don't really know why they were removed. I think Shadow Priest or Priest have a similar kind of system, and I wouldn't mind seeing the packs return. Even like having Pact of the Eridar or Pact of Vanillion replace like Claw of Endereth and whatever the other Soulburn feels infinitely better. At least for some damage, like they feel sort of cool, right? We'll see where it goes. If they want to have the clash tree be like just a big throughput, a big DR, you're a walking god and can't die kind of tree, most of your utilities in this tree, that's fine if they tune the spec trees around it, but it just feels a little bland and like we took a step back in the clash tree overall. Spec trees, however, AF single target feels much better. We'll see if it's bugged or not, but either way, even if it isn't bugged, still looks pretty good. Deshro got better, Demo got better, Guillotine looks insane, and yeah, I think overall, like spec-wise, Lock's in a pretty good spot, and I mean, we've got a lot of time left for alpha and beta for tuning and further changes. So that being said, I will probably probably be making individual videos this week on like AF Demo Destro, and also updating the feedback document. Hopefully, sometime soon over the next few days here. It's already it's Thursday. Good Lord. Sometime soon, we'll see, and we will go from there. So if you guys have any questions about anything in the video here, or have any comments about like what, your favorite spec or anything like that, the big changes, let me know down in the comment section below. Any questions, once again, put them down there. I will be sure to get back to you. Yeah, actually, let me know what you guys think of the AF changes. I'm curious. There's been some mixed takes on it. People want to see dots back, but they hate Rapture. This is a weird hybrid build, but I think it works out pretty well overall. While you're down there, smash the like and sub buttons. It helps out a ton. Before we end the video, I also want to give one massive shout out to my patrons one more time. Guys, thank you for all support on Patreon lately, and just in general. I really appreciate it. If you're looking at supporting on Patreon, it should be a link up here, as well as down in the video description below. With all that being said, yeah, thanks for watching, guys, and I will catch you all again soon on stream. Hopefully not as exhausted as I am now. Peace.